All right, so Khamzat Chimaev is fighting Nate Diaz this weekend. Here it is, UFC 279. It's interesting because, yeah, Khamzat Chimaev is what, a minus 1,150 favorite, something like that. Nate Diaz is coming back a plus money round, plus 750. Now, if you like Nate Diaz, I'd take the bet, but I don't know if I like Nate Diaz this weekend. I mean, it's a 13-fight card, again, headlined by Khamzat Chimaev. It's Chimaev's first ever main event spot, and he's taken on one of the most popular fighters in UFC history. Of course, Nathan Diaz out of Stockton, California. So that's your main event. Your co-main event, I mean, Tony Ferguson's fighting. He's fighting Li Jingliang. I mean, great. I don't know what to say about that. We'll talk about that later. And then the fight probably I'm most excited for, Kevin Holland, Daniel Rodriguez at a catchweight of 180. That's a tremendous fight. So that's the 13-fight card we've got lined up on Saturday night. And folks, if you haven't yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more UFC here on the channel. And real quickly, taking a look at UFC Paris, we got the main and co-main events right on the money. So we got Gan Tuivasa. Of course, I picked Ciryl Gane by third round TKO finish. He won. And then for Whitaker and Victoria, I said Whitaker by decision. Got both those spot on. So really good out of those two fights. I love that card. I mean, UFC Paris was fun as hell. I love the Paris crowd, and it's just ridiculous to me that after this fight night, the next 7 fight nights are in the UFC Apex. It is ridiculous. The only hope we have is that apparently in the press conference after the Paris card, someone from the UFC said, oh yeah, in 2023 we're going back to the normal schedule where we're traveling every single week. Yeah, better. The only UFC Apex card I ever want to see ever again, I want to see at the Ultimate Fighter, I want to see Contender Series, and the one Ultimate Fighter finale card. Those are the only cards I want to see in the Apex. Other than that, screw the Apex. So we got 7 more Apex cards, and then we got UFC Orlando, and then we got 2 more Apexes after that. So the countdown is down to 9 Apex cards left, hopefully. But yeah, we went 8-4. It was a pretty good night last night. Okay, so our first fight is going to be Darian Weeks taking on Yohan Lainesse. We've got Darian Weeks right now as a slight favorite over Lainesse. Weeks is 0-2 in the UFC, Lainesse is 0-1, so both these guys looking for the first UFC victory. For Darian Weeks, he comes in the UFC off LFA. He picks up a big win on LFA 99, given as a fight that he fought against a guy who was 3-4, but he comes in, he loses to Bryan Barberena on somewhat short notice. He was supposed to take on Josh Quinlan on the Contender Series, but Weeks had to withdraw, so they give him the shot right away against Bryan Barberena. Now, fight was coming in that fight, they're even money. Barberena wins it by unanimous decision. It's a good fight. Typical Bryan Barberena fight. He outlasts Darian Weeks in that fight. It's close, but you give 2 rounds to Barberena, you give 1 to Darian Weeks, and then Weeks' second fight, they give him Ian Gary Machado now, or Machado Gary, whatever the hell his name is. Gary wins by unanimous decision. Weeks has his moments, but it's not the most entertaining fight. It's just Ian Gary does what he needs to do to win that fight. Yohan Lainesse so far in the UFC, he's 0-1, of course, coming in to the promotion after beating Justin Burleson on the Contender Series. He knocks him out in the first round, clean left hook, puts him down, sits him down, giving Burleson his first loss, and then he fights Gabe Green. It's a fight that I thought Lainesse was going to win. I think a lot of people thought Lainesse was going to pick up the W, but Gabe Green is able to out-survive Lainesse's onslaught, really, in the first round. Gabe Green really just turns it on in the second, even though Lainesse does knock down Gabe Green in that second round. Eventually in the second, late in that round, Gabe Green does start to take over, and he wins the fight. This is the way I see this fight, man. I think Yohan Lainesse has got a good round and a half to win this one. I mean, I think once this fight passes the half mark of this fight, 220 into the second round, I think this fight really turns into Darian Weeks' fight. But I think in the first and early in this fight, if Lainesse is able to connect clean and early on Darian Weeks, he can really take over and win this fight. But again, Darian Weeks has taken a lot of damage from Barberena and Ian Machado Gary, and he was able to survive both those fights and get them both to decisions. So I think this is a tough fight for Yohan Lainesse if he is trying to win this, if he isn't able to put away Weeks early. I mean, obviously if you're picking Lainesse, I think you're picking him by knockout. If you're picking Weeks, I think Weeks does have the capability to knock out Yohan Lainesse, but is that gonna be his main way to win the fight? No, it's probably gonna be outlasting Lainesse and just out-tiring him and probably out-grappling him to take him down to the ground. So this is how that fight goes. I think I'm gonna take Yohan Lainesse. I'm not confident in the pick at all. I'm gonna take the slight underdog in this fight because I think Lainesse is able to land early against Darian Weeks, and if he is able to connect, he should be able to put him down. Again, though, if you're live betting this fight and this fight gets past the midpoint of the second round, I would take Darian Weeks all day long. But I'm gonna bank on Lainesse connecting early and finding that big power shot. So I'm gonna take Yohan Lainesse just like I did in the Gabe Green fight. I'm gonna take him to beat Darian Weeks by first round knockout. Let's see if he is able to connect on the chin. So we've got Elise Reed taking on Melissa Martinez. Melissa Martinez has not fought in 3 years. Last time she fought, she was 22 years old. She's now 25. That's concerning. Now, she's the favorite going in this fight against Elise Reed for good reason, because Martinez is undefeated and she's really displayed really good kickboxing in her 7 fights so far professionally. 6 of them have come with combate, and most of them have been by knockout finish. I mean, she's got, 5 of them by knockout, 2 of them by decision. I mean, her last fight, though, was on the Tito Ortiz versus Alberto Del Rio card. Yeah, on combate. That was her last fight. She won the fight by split decision. I'm just saying, she hasn't fought in a while. She gets signed by the UFC, and now she's taking on Elise Reed. Elise Reed's a fighter who is 1-2 in the promotion. Now she comes in, she loses to Sijara Eubanks on short notice. She loses, she beats Corey McKenna, and it's a good fight for her because she's a big underdog going into the fight, and she beats McKenna, and then she just lost to Sam Hughes, and that was a fight where Sam Hughes kind of just dominated. I mean, Elise Reed had zero answers to the ground game of Sam Hughes in that fight. It was just takedowns, rinse and repeat, and Elise Reed couldn't just get back up after Hughes took her down, and that's really been what's hurt Elise Reed so far in the UFC. Look at the Eubanks fight. Eubanks is able to get her down and just finish her down there. And then Corey McKenna, the limited success McKenna had against Elise Reed was on the ground. I mean, she couldn't really do much on the feet, but once Corey McKenna was able to take her down, she saw some success in that fight. Now, is Melissa Martinez going to take down Elise Reed? I don't think so. I mean, this is an opportunity for Reed to, show her striking here, and I think that's where Elise Reed obviously does want most of her fights, but does she want the fight against against Melissa Martinez on the feet? I don't know, but I think she's going to be forced to have to fight Melissa Martinez on the feet. So you're going to see a striking fight, and I don't think that favors Elise Reed all that much. I think Reed's a little bit slow on the feet, and considering how Martinez works the body, and I don't know how Melissa Martinez is going to look 3 years after her last fight in Khamzat, but I gotta assume that she's going to be solid in there against Elise Reed, and I think this is a fight, obviously, where they're trying to get Melissa Martinez a victory. Elise Reed is taking this on short notice, because originally it was supposed to be Melissa Martinez versus Hannah Cifers. That kind of just shows you where they are going with Melissa Martinez, considering they're trying to give her a fighter in Hannah Cifers. If they're going to try to give her Cifers, they think she's going to be Elise Reed as well. I think she's going to be Elise Reed. I think you're going to see a stand-up affair. I think Melissa Martinez just outstrikes Elise Reed at 4:15 minutes. I'm going to go Melissa Martinez beating Elise Reed by unanimous decision. Really excited for this fight. We have got Chad Anheliger taking on Alatengheili. And for Chad Anheliger, man, I mean, this guy started his professional career with a record of 2-5. It is now 12-5. I mean, the man is on a 10-fight winning streak. Normally when MMA fighters are 2-5, they kind of just, hang up the gloves, and that's kind of it. But no, Anheliger has worked his way back, and now he is a UFC fighter. He wins in the Contender Series, and he comes in his first fight of the promotion, and he knocks out Jesse Strader in the third round. Given it was a fight he's supposed to win. Jesse Strader was not the greatest UFC fighter. He got knocked out twice in a row by Montel Jackson and Chad Anheliger. Is he going to be back? I doubt it. But Anheliger looks really good in that fight, and now he gets the Mongolian Knight in Alatengheili, fighting out of Inner Mongolia, China. Alatengheili has been pretty solid. Now, his last fight was against, I hate to say it, but kind of another Can Kevin Croom. I don't think Kevin Croom's the greatest. He's gonna fight in Synergy FC Kansas City Fight Night in 6 days. Okay, didn't know that was happening. He's fighting Brad Robinson. Did he forget the N in his name for Robinson? I don't know. That's probably insulting. Anyway, okay, so Kevin Croom gets knocked out by Alatengheili in his last fight, and Alatengheili was good in that one. I mean, he knocks out Croom right away, catches him, sits him down, wins the fight. Before that, for Alatengheili, he had the draw against Gustavo Lopez. It was a competitive fight, but Lopez was able to implement his grappling and really give Alatengheili trouble, not especially with the wrestling, but he was able to mix it up and always have, and he always had Alatengheili worrying about the takedowns in that fight, which opened up the striking. And then Alatengheili had the bad loss really to Casey Kenny. Kenny kind of just dominated that fight. Stand up affair, but Kenny worked the body well, looked good in that fight. And then before that, Alatengheili won his first 2 fights in the UFC, beating Denab Bakari by unanimous decision and beating Ryan Benoit by split decision. Now, both those fights by Alatengheili, he used his wrestling, and he really had to mix it up with his wrestling and his grappling. He's going to have to do that with Chad Anheliger. Now, Anheliger's grappling as a whole isn't horrible. His takedown defense isn't the greatest. He does get taken down a lot. Strader took him down 4 times, and on the Contender Series, he got taken down 5 times as well. But what Anheliger has been able to do is he's been able to work up after he does get taken down. Both those fights, even the Strader fight, he was able to work back up, and eventually in the third round, he knocked out Jesse Strader. So, and Anheliger, don't dismiss the fact that he's got good jiu-jitsu too. He's able to catch guys in guillotines. Like one of his fights in the regional, it was one of the Canadian regional fights that he's had. Guy shoots in for a takedown, catches him on the way in with the guillotine, finishes the fight right there. So if Anheliger is able to catch Alatengheili, shooting him for a takedown, taking a bad shot, he could catch him in a guillotine or something like that. But I think it is for Anheliger, if he does get taken down, I think he is able to work back up. As long as he's next to the cage, I think he should be able to get back up to his feet. And I think on the feet, Anheliger presents a really troubling, stylistic fight for Alatengheili, because I think Anheliger, is he a little bit slower than Alatengheili? Okay, maybe sure. But he's going to land early, and he's going to land often, and he's going to land with power. Alatengheili will do the same, but I'm just saying Anheliger is going to be able to keep up with Alatengheili on the feet, and he's just going to be able to deliver the more damaging blows. So if they go strike for strike, Anheliger is going to land and more effectively land on Alatengheili. So, I mean, again, this is a great stylistic fight, I think, for both guys, because Alatengheili, I think he's able to put on the pressure on Anheliger, and he's got to make him work for those big power shots, but I think it really only takes one for Chad Anheliger, because that guy does hit so hard for being just, of course, a 135-pounder. So, again, you got Anheliger's 1-0 in the UFC. You got Alatengheili, who's been around for a little bit. I'm going to take Chad Anheliger here. I think Anheliger continues that wave of success right now. I think he's a slight underdog. I think the graphic should have it, but right now I think he's a slight underdog going into this fight with Alatengheili. I think if he's able to catch him, I think it's danger for Alatengheili. I really do think Anheliger is able to land in the second round on Alatengheili. Going to sit him down. He's going to win the fight that way. So I got second round TKO finish for Anheliger, probably with a counter. I think he's going to catch Alatengheili coming in. Boom, counter, sits him down. Anheliger wins the fight by second round knockout. Okay, so this fight, Danielle Wolf taking on Norma Dumont. For Danielle Wolf, she's 1-0 as an MMA fighter. According to Tapology, and I'm not a boxing fan, so I mean, this is probably right. They say she's 27-14 with pro boxing. Now, again, take this with a grain of salt. I don't watch boxing. I'll watch like KSI fight, and I'll watch Tyson Fury, and I'll watch, all the big, I'll watch Canelo, I'll watch those guys fight, and I'll watch when Anderson Silva hopefully beats Jake Paul. But I don't think 27-14 is the greatest boxing record. Now, I think it might be different with women's fighting than male fighting, because like in men's boxing, right? Like if you have 4 losses, that doesn't look great. Like a guy that has 10 losses is considered a bum in men's boxing. 27-14, I don't think that's all that great, which is okay. She's a pro boxer, but now she's in MMA and she's taking on Norma Dumont. Now, I don't know why Danielle Wolf was signed to UFC. She did not look good in her Contender Series fight. She got rocked a couple times by Tanisha Tennant. She did. Now she won the fight, but man, it was a close one. And what Danielle Wolf showed in that fight, which does look good, is she was able to stuff the takedowns out of her opponent in that fight. The thing is, Danielle Wolf is now 40 years old, and now she's getting her first run in the UFC. Okay. She was able to stuff takedowns in that fight, which, okay, that's impressive. But that's against a fighter who is not on the level of Norma Dumont. I mean, she's taking on a fighter who's 3-0 going into that fight. And yeah, she had a win over Taylor Gordano, but that's about it. I mean, right? Like, Norma Dumont is, and I hate to say it, but she is an elite fighter at women's featherweight, because there really aren't fighters at women's featherweight. But if you want to make an elite category at that weight class, Norma Dumont is one of them. Because, it's her, Macy Chiasson, and it's Amanda Nunes. Norma Dumont should not have any trouble in this fight. On the feet, I don't think she's going to have trouble. Unless Wolf catches her like Megan Anderson caught her, she should be fine. Norma Dumont is going to beat her on the feet like she beat Felicia Spencer, like she beat Aspen Ladd. But I don't think that's where this fight's going to go down. I think Norma Dumont's going to take her down. Okay, it's cool. Like, Tanisha Tennant, or whatever her name was, went 0 for 7 on her takedowns against Danielle Wolf. That's fine. Is Norma Dumont going to go 0 for 7 on her takedowns? No. She's going to clinch with Danielle Wolf. She's going to put Danielle Wolf in positions she has not been in yet, and she is going to drag her to the ground. And then that's how Norma Dumont gets the fight on the ground, and that's how Norma Dumont wins this fight by submission. I feel very confident in this fight. Norma Dumont is not losing this. She's not going to lose it by decision. The only way she loses is if she gets caught. But I think Norma Dumont's not stupid. She is going to clinch early with Danielle Wolf, and she's going to put her in troubling positions that Danielle Wolf has not been in yet in a professional MMA fight. And oh, by the way, she's only had 1 professional MMA fight. I mean, the fact that Danielle Wolf's in the UFC and Bo Nickal's not is ridiculous. And I get it, Bo Nickel is going to fight on the Contender Series again just to pop a rating, and then he'll be in the UFC, and likely he'll be fighting for a world championship, I think, in the next 2 years. That's the hype I have on Bo Nickel right now. But still, going back to this fight, I think Norma Dumont wins. I don't think it's competitive at all. I think she drags her to the ground early. She finds a body lock. She finds a trip in the clinch, and Norma Dumont submits Danielle Wolf, probably with a rear naked choke, because Wolf probably won't know what to do. She'll give up her back, and Dumont will submit her with a rear naked choke. I'm going to say within 3 minutes in the first round, Norma Dumont gets the easiest win of her career, first round submission victory. So we've got heavyweight action between the prototype, Jake Collier, and Beast Boy, Chris Barnett. For Jake Collier, it's been a mixed bag so far in the UFC. I mean, he's traded wins and losses for a while. Of course, he fought at middleweight, then all of a sudden 3 years later, or he fought at light heavyweight and middleweight, but all of a sudden 3 years later, he comes back. Oh yeah, he's fighting Tom Aspinall at heavyweight. Really? Okay. So that's what happened. He lost to Aspinall, beat Jan Vellante, lost to Carlos Felipe in a fight he probably should have won. Beats Chase Sherman, and then loses to Andrei Arlovski most recently by split decision. A fight that a lot of people thought he won, but it's fine. I mean, Andrei Arlovski keeps on winning, keep the hype train going with my guy, Andrei Arlovski, by decision. It always hits every single time. He's going to fight DeLima next, and you know what's going to happen. He's going to beat him by split decision. Anyways, Collier fights Andrei Arlovski, loses by split decision, but Jake Collier has been pretty solid. I mean, really, he's been on the bad end, I think, of 2 split decision victories or losses. The Felipe fight and the Arlovski fight. In the Felipe fight, more I thought he lost. I thought Arlovski should have maybe got the nod in the Collier fight, but really it was Collier Felipe, which I thought, okay, Collier won that one. And I picked Carlos Felipe to win. But Collier's been good, man. I mean, he's really showed the volume striking. He doesn't have the most knockout power because he really hasn't knocked anybody out yet at heavyweight. He does have a submission win over Chase Sherman, who has shown that he does not have a ground game, but he did submit Chase Sherman in the first round back in January of this year on the Giga Chikadze card. But Collier has shown the volume striking at a heavyweight fighter, which is rare to see. I mean, really, he's a younger Andrei Arlovsky, and I said that when they fought. I was like, yeah, Collier is kind of a younger Andrei Arlovsky who has a decent ground game, doesn't have the knockout power, but Jake Collier is what Andrei Arlovsky is at 40 years old. He is, and it's just that Collier is what, 30? Chris Barnett's good. I do like Chris Barnett. I think he's a fun fighter to watch. But, I mean, he kind of got overhyped because of the Jan Vellante knockout, but we kind of knew when he fought Martin Buday that he was going to lose because Buday was good, coming off of, the regionals. The guy's a good fighter, and Buday was beating him until, of course, the legal shot, or the shot to the groin. Of course, fight was stopped, technical decision. Buday wins by unanimous decision, but Buday was winning up until that point. Barnett also lost to Ben Rothwell. Rothwell kind of exposed that, okay, he doesn't have the greatest ground game. But, I mean, Ben Rothwell, when he does need it, does have a really nice ground game. He's able to go in there. Believe he submitted him with a guillotine. No, it was the go-go choke he submitted him with. Which, okay, good win for Ben Rothwell. He's going to fight in bare knuckle now. And then, of course, Barnett's one win is over, of course, Jan Vellante, where he spinning wheel kicked him in the face, knocked him down, hit the flip after. It was cool and all, but now he's taking on Jake Collier. Now, these are two smaller heavyweights in size. Actually, never mind. Jake Collier is 6'3". I thought Jake Collier was a lot shorter. Okay, Collier is 6'3", Chris Barnett's 5'9". That's all you need to know. Jake Collier is going to be able to strike from distance. I don't think Chris Barnett's going to be able to crash. I don't think he's going to be able to close the distance in this fight to the point where he can land a big power shot on Jake Collier. Collier should be able to stay on the outside, just keep piecing him up, and I don't think he's going to manage to get himself into too much danger in this fight. Jake Collier should win it by unanimous decision. Barnett's okay. He's got a lot of power, but I mean, really, if Collier just follows the game plan of what Martin Buday did, not hunt the knockout, he should be able to win. And Buday's a guy who's now 2-0 in the UFC. Yeah, I like Jake Collier all day in this fight. I'm going to take him by unanimous decision. And again, I just don't think he gets hit by Chris Barnett. And I think if he does have to, Jake Collier can win this fight on the ground. I think he really can. If Collier does take down Chris Barnett, it's going to be danger. And I think Collier is probably going to be able to submit him. I'm going to go with the first option, though. I think Collier wins it by decision. But I would not be surprised at all, though, if Jake Collier wins this one by sub. Anyways, taking the prototype to win this one, I got him by unanimous decision. So I don't know if this is going to be the most entertaining fight, but it's a fight that's going to happen. It's Jamie Pickett and Dennis Tiuliulin. Yeah, Dennis Tiuliulin's 0-1 in the UFC. He was kind of an interesting signing for me. I didn't really get why he was in the promotion. I mean, sure, he was coming off a big win in UAE Warriors. He won by first round knockout. Was Dana in attendance for that? I don't think so, but still, he looked good in that fight where he won the UAE Warriors. He comes in, he fights Khamzat. He gets subbed in the second round. I mean, he's a plus 650 underdog in that fight. They just threw him right in the wolves, taking out like Ali Hasseb, Khamzat, and Khamzat's a good fighter. I think this guy's going to be in the weight class for a while. Really good ground game, really good submissions, and I mean, we knew Khamzat was probably going to sub him in that fight. And I wouldn't say Tiuliulin's ground game is bad. I just think that's how good Khamzat is. Now he's taking on Jamie Pickett, who, I mean, what has Jamie Pickett been in the UFC? He comes in, he loses twice in a row. You're thinking, oh, back against the wall. What is he going to do against Laureano Staropoli? He beats Staropoli. He beats Joe Holmes. And then he loses to Kyle Dawkins in a co-main event. He was supposed to take on Abdulrazak Alhassan. He was supposed to fight Tiuliulin a couple months later, or a couple months earlier to this. And now he's taking on Tiuliulin on UFC 279. On the feet, I think Pickett's better than Tiuliulin as long as he doesn't get caught. I mean, both these guys are older these guys are older middleweights. They're both 34 years old, kind of coming into the UFC later. Tiuliulin was kind of a can crusher coming into the UFC. I mean, you look at his record, other than that win against the 11-2 guy in UAE Warriors. He beat a guy who's 7-9, 0-0, 0-11, 0-0, 5-3, 2-5, 0-0, 0-0. He didn't really fight anybody good outside the UFC. He was fighting really bad competition, and he was knocking them all out. If he's able to land on Jamie Pickett, it's undeniable. Okay, Dennis Tiuliulin does have power, but is he a good technical striker? Not entirely. I think Pickett's better there. I think Pickett is going to be able to stay out the way of big power shots, and I think if Pickett, again, just doesn't get caught with something huge, he should be able to technically outland Dennis Tiuliulin in this fight. Pickett's a minus 130 favorite, Tiuliulin's plus 115. Now, would I ever put money on a Jamie Pickett fight? No, but honestly, 135 here does not look horrible for Jamie Pickett. I don't think Dennis Tiuliulin is all that great, and oh, by the way, I think if Jamie Pickett does need to take this fight down, I think there's a way for him to win the fight down there too. I mean, if he takes him down like he did Joe Holmes, okay, Pickett can have a lot of success down there, mix it up, and always have Dennis Tiuliulin thinking. Again, my one way on how Dennis Tiuliulin wins this fight is if he knocks out Jamie Pickett in the first round. That is how he wins this fight. Will he do it? I don't think so. As long as this fight gets out the first round, Jamie Pickett should be able to pick his shots. He should be able to fight a smart fight against Dennis Tiuliulin. And as long, again, as he does not get caught, he should be able to win this one by unanimous decision. So I'm going to be taking Jamie Pickett in this fight. He's going to go 3-3 in the UFC. Again, I've never felt so confident in a Jamie Pickett fight. But again, as long as he doesn't get cracked, I think this is Jamie Pickett all day, and this is a guy who's been shaky so far in the UFC, but I just don't think all that highly on Dennis Tiuliulin. I'm going to take Jamie Pickett. I think you're going to see a performance kind of like what he had against Joe Holmes, and he should be able to win the fight by unanimous decision. So give me Jamie Pickett to win this one by unanimous decision. Okay, Anton Turkalj taking on Chiasson Almeida. We are feeding Anton Turkalj right into the wolves. All right, you can go fight Chiasson Almeida. You didn't have a great fight in the Contender Series. You had a boring fight. Dana White yelled at you. Yeah, okay, go fight Chiasson Almeida. Welcome to the UFC, big man. So for Turkalj, and by the way, this fight's going to be at a catch weight of 220 pounds. But yeah, so Turkalj was on that first Dana White Contender Series card that was really bad. And the 3 really bad fights, and then you had the Joe Pyfer win, of course. Be like Joe Pyfer, that whole Dana White speech. Okay, cool. Turkalj wins by unanimous decision. It's nothing special. He wins the fight. He's just, okay, he's better than his opponent. Like, that's all I can say. Turkalj, by the way, his nickname is the Pleasure Man. And this is an exact quote from the Contender Series, promo. He said, "My nickname is the Pleasure Man, but my opponents don't get no pleasure when I'm in the octagon." Okay, cool. So the Pleasure Man is 8-0. He trains at All Stars MMA, of course, with guys such as Khamzat Chimaev, Cutelaba, Alexander Gustafsson. He's said he's been training with Gustafsson for 7 years, which is cool. But that's not going to matter. He's going to lose this fight. Chiasson Almeida is this guy's a stud. If Chiasson Almeida kept fighting at 205, I think this guy would be in the top 15 within the next 6 months. That's how good this guy is. But he's shown at heavyweight, he can dominate heavyweights too. Like, he dominated Parker Porter. It was a fight where he weighed in at 224. Porter weighs in, close to 250? Is Porter 265 on the dot? I think he might be. And he just goes in there and he just absolutely demolishes Parker Porter. Parker Porter, yeah, winning the heavyweight limit of 265. He comes in there, takes down Parker Porter, doesn't have any problems, and submits him. Chiasson Almeida, he's that good. He is that guy. He can get takedowns. He's a physically strong guy. Immediately, he shoots in for a takedown. Immediately, he's going to get it. And immediately, he is going to rain punches. And eventually, he will find his opponent in an opening where he can take their back or he can find a submission and he will sub his opponent. I don't know what Anton Turkalj is going to do in this fight because he's going to have to fight off some takedowns. He's going to have to fight off a lot of takedowns against a guy who's so physically strong in Chiasson Almeida. Turkalj, he's going to seriously have to throw a Jorge Masvidal flying knee in this fight and catch Chiasson Almeida trying to take him down if he's going to win. Because that's what he's up against in this fight. Chiasson Almeida is that dude. He is that prospect. This guy is undefeated, or actually, no, he's not undefeated. He lost a couple times back in 2018, but he is that guy, man. He's 16-2. He's 31 years old. He is officially in his prime. He's 6'3". I would like to see him keep fighting at light heavyweight, but I think the cut's a little bit tough for him, even though his only fight in the UFC at light heavyweight was against Danilo Marquez, a guy who's supposed to have really good jiu-jitsu, and he beats him by ground pound in the first round. Oh, by the way, he weighed in at 203 pounds, so it's not like he was, struggling to make that, right? So I would really like to see Almeida back at 205, but I think he wants to remain as active as possible. He's supposed to take on Shamil Abdurakhimov coming in this fight. I thought that would have just been a mismatch, and I think it would have been a good fight for Almeida, considering Abdurakhimov still holds a ranking. I think he's at number 13. That's why I wanted to see Almeida fight that fight, because that was definitely the easiest fight for him in the top 15. Is a fight that he was not going to lose at all. But now he's going to take on Turkalj. It's going to be a good win for him just to get back in there in front of a crowd, get his name out there. First fight in front of a crowd for Chiasson Almeida in the UFC, which is good for him. But it's going to be a takedown right away. He's going to be apparent early how much physically stronger he is than Turkalj. Turkalj doesn't really offer anything off his back against a guy like Chiasson Almeida, just because, again, that's the pressure Almeida is going to put on guys. Chiasson Almeida wins this fight pretty easily. I'm going to go first round submission win. Again, it's not going to be difficult at all for him. This should be a phenomenal fight. We've got Hakeem Mean Dawodu taking on it Juicy J, Julian Erosa. Really excited for this one, man, because Dawodu's a really good fighter. He had that one bad fight against Movsar Evloev, but that's what's going to happen to you when you fight a guy like Evloev. That guy's a monster. He's 16-0, just beat Dan Ige in his last fight. Where is he? Why is Movsar Evloev not fighting again? This guy should be working his way up the ranks right now at 145. But for Hakeem Mean Dawodu, he comes back. He beats Michael Trizano in his last fight. He looks good in the fight. Given that was all the way back in February of this year, earlier in February. But he wins by unanimous decision. He is in Trizano's face that entire fight. He is pressuring Trizano, and that's how Dawodu is going to fight. He is going to bring the pressure. He's going to bring the action right to you. He's going to remain active, and he is always going to force a crazy fight out of you. And oh, by the way, who does that too? Julian Erosa. That's why this fight cannot be bad. Julian Erosa is, this run in the UFC for Julian Erosa has been incredible. The guy keeps on pushing forward. He had that win where he beat Charles Jourdain. No, Jourdain just lost to Nathaniel Wood in his last fight, but you know how highly I think of Jourdain. Erosa had that close fight with Stephen Ocho Peterson. That was a fight where Erosa said, all right, I'm going to go win fight of the night, and just traded with Stephen Ocho Peterson for 15 minutes. He used his takedowns when he needed to, but really for the most part, it was a stand-up affair, and Julian Erosa went for it. He had the big flying knee knockout win over Nate Landwehr. He had the win over Sean Woodson, where he's a huge underdog going in that one, but he comes in and he subs him in the third round. Erosa has been so much fun, really since the pandemic started. The guy is 4-1 in the UFC in this latest run, and it's been incredible. And I think you're going to see a crazy fight between him and Hakeem Dawodu. I think it's the first fight in a long time for Dawodu where he is not the more aggressive fighter. Because Erosa is going to push the pace more than what Dawodu is going to. Like, Erosa, man, his pressure is crazy. Just watch the Ocho Peterson fight. Watch the Jourdain fight where Jourdain is forced to shoot and boom, Erosa catches him in a darts. Boom, fight over, right? Or Jourdain just gets stuck in the darts and, of course, he gets subbed. Like, look at the way Erosa pressures Nate Landwehr, pushes him back against the fence, boom, flying knee with 50 seconds, and with only 50 seconds, like, into that fight. Erosa's a crazy man on the feet. He's a wild fighter. He's got an unlimited gas tank, and it should make for an incredible fight. If Erosa has to, maybe he goes to wrestling. I doubt it, though. You're going to see a stand-up fight between these two guys, and it's going to be a fun one. Dawodu talks to his opponents. He's like the Luke Rockhold moment where he says F you to Paulo Costa, and he hits him with a big right hand. That's Hakeem Dawodu in there. Dawodu is going to talk to his opponents. He is going to talk, throw a big shot, and wait for one to come back his direction. This is going to tear the house down in the featured prelim. This is getting them before the main card. It's going to get the night really going, and I'm so pumped for this fight because you're probably going to see just an absolute murder in the fight before with Almeida and Turkalj, but now you get Dawodu and Erosa, pure violence in the featured prelim. I'm going to be taking Hakeem Dawodu, though. I think Dawodu's the better technical striker. I think Erosa will be pushing forward. I think Erosa will be landing more, but I think who's going to be landing the more damaging shots? Got to be Hakeem Dawodu. I think Dawodu hits harder than Erosa, unless Erosa catches him in a big flying knee or something like that, the big flashy strike. I do think Dawodu still does hit harder, but I think Erosa will be more active, and I think on the finals, like, the final stats, I think it's going to be a close fight. Like, I'm going to say split decision for Hakeem Dawodu. Dawodu wins by split decision a lot. I think it's going to be another one here. I think you're going to see a close fight. When they go to the cards, they're going to show you the stats, and it's going to be, okay, Erosa did land more, but who landed the more significant and who landed the better and harder strikes? Oh, it was Hakeem Dawodu. So that's why I think Dawodu is going to get the nod. I think it's going to be an ever so slight. I think it's going to be just a razor-thin split decision victory. But I'm going to go with Hakeem Dawodu to outstrike Julian Erosa. I think Erosa, again, is going to bring the action to him, and he's going to bring the pressure to Hakeem Dawodu. But I think Dawodu will land the more effective strikes. I think he's going to be able to wobble Erosa more than Erosa is going to be able to bring back in the other direction. Going to take Hakeem Dawodu to beat Julian Erosa. I think he gets it done by by split decision. Should be a fun one, though. Oh, goodness. I don't put money on this fight. I don't know how this one ends up. Like, really. Ion Cutelaba taking on Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's back again. He looks he looks physically great going into this fight. I mean, you look at the picture with him and Khamzat Chimaev, the dude is ripped for this fight. But, I mean, Johnny Walker's he's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. I mean, he had all that hype going in the Corey Anderson fight. He doesn't win the fight, and he's lost. Again, he loses to Corey Anderson, loses to Nikita Krylov, beats Ryan Spann, loses to Thiago Santos, loses to Jamal Hill. The guy hasn't won a fight since the Spann fight, and before that, he won his big run, of course. But he hasn't been that guy since the Misha Cirkunov fight. And that guy was supposed to be the guy who was supposed to challenge John Jones. Everyone was like, oh, Johnny Walker's the next big thing in this weight class. He wasn't. Corey Anderson put an end to that hype. And of course, the future Bellator champion, Corey Anderson, he's going to beat Vadim Nemkov when they fight. I'm not concerned. I think he's going to beat Nemkov when they fight again. He was on his way to win the fight in the first one. But anyways, Walker was supposed to be that guy. And he has not been that guy since. He loses to Thiago Santos. He loses to an old Thiago Santos, who, given Santos remained competitive with Jamal Hill. He did. But still, the Johnny Walker who beat Misha Cirkunov, and that guy who had all that hype going to the Corey Anderson fight, that guy should have beat Thiago Santos. That Thiago Santos. He didn't. Now he's taking on Ion Cutelaba. And it's crazy because Johnny Walker, if he loses this fight, would have lost 5 out of his last 6. Now, will he get cut if he loses? I don't think so. They'll probably give him another run, one more shot. But it's getting to that point, which is crazy with Johnny Walker. It's like, this guy's fighting for his contract at this point. He is. And Johnny Walker is fighting for his contract at this point. Does Ion Cutelaba hit the hardest? No. He does hit hard, but is he that knockout specialist? Low-key kind of is. I mean, he's not like, okay, he's not a guy where you're going in there like, oh, Ion Cutelaba is fighting guaranteed knockout. He's not especially that guy, but he is able to connect a lot. Like, you look at his win over Luis Henrique de Silva, he knocks him out in 22 seconds. He beats Antigulov, he knocks out Khalil Roundtree. He's got the decision win over Devin Clark, but Devin Clark is such a tough guy to put away. He was able to win that fight against Clark. He took him down 8 times, and it was Cutelaba again implementing the wrestling in that fight, which, if he wants to do that against Johnny Walker, he's probably able to, if we're being honest with ourselves. Like, guys are able to take down Johnny Walker. Kirilov did it, Ryan Spann did it, but Walker isn't horrible at getting back up to his feet, so I don't think Cutelaba is able to ground him and keep him grounded throughout the entire fight. But, man, I mean, it's an interesting fight. It's an interesting fight because does Johnny Walker still have the capability of knocking anybody out? Yes, he does. He does. Yes. Johnny Walker still has the capability of doing something flashy and knocking out Ion Cutelaba in the first round and sending the crowd crazy to kick off the pay-per-view portion of the card. Or he could just walk into a big overhand right or a check right hook and then just get knocked down and flatlined. Right? I mean, either way is very possible. I mean, he has taken 7 months off since his last fight against Jamal Hill, where he got knocked out. It was that weird delayed knockout. Hill hits him on the top of the head, it's kind of the crown of the head, and Walker, it's like a video game animation, like it's like a Looney Tune cartoon or something. He throws both his hands up in the air and he gets knocked out. I mean, we said it. It was the most Johnny Walker way a knockout can end. Or it's the most Johnny Walker way he could get knocked out, and this is exactly what happened. Man, him and Ion Cutelaba are going to take Johnny Walker. Okay, I think someone's probably going to get knocked out. And it's going to happen in the first round. It's going to be violence in the first round. It's going to be chaos in the first round. But I think Johnny Walker is able to remain on his feet. He's going to get wobbled. But I think it's going to be a back and forth fight, kind of like what Johnny Walker and Ryan Spann was. I think Walker is going to land something huge on Ion Cutelaba, and he's going to knock him out in the first round. I think that's going to happen. Now, you can play MMA math all you want here because, technically Johnny Walker beat Ryan Spann beat Ion Cutelaba. It doesn't really work like that because Cutelaba got subbed by by Spann, and Walker knocked out Spann, but Walker was almost knocked out by Spann too. It's just Ryan Spann fought that fight with really low fight IQ, but it's okay. I'm going to take Johnny Walker. I think Walker shows a little glimpse of what he had back in 2019, 2018. I think he's back on fire with the crowd. I think this is his first fight back with the crowd, and Johnny Walker is going to feed off that energy. He's going to knock out Ion Cutelaba in the first round. Again, it is the man's first fight with the crowd since when he lost to Corey Anderson back in Madison Square Garden, UFC 244. Johnny Walker is going to land something crazy, and he's going to knock out Cutelaba in the first. Let's hope it happens, man. So we've got Irina Aldana taking on Macy Chiasson here. So for Aldana, coming off that big win, of course, bouncing back after losing in a main event spot against Holly Holm. Now, she fought a probably pregnant Yana Kunitskaya in her last fight over a year ago, UFC 264 on Poirier McGregor 3. It was on the main card. She's back on the main card here for a Khamzat Chimaev Nate Diaz fight, but it's okay. Irina Aldana had all the hype around her. She knocks out Ketlen Vieira, who somehow Ketlen Vieira might be next for a title shot. I mean, if they go to Brazil and they don't give the third fight to Juliana Pena, they might do Ketlen Vieira versus Amanda Nunes in Brazil. And probably, I mean, I'd hope it wouldn't main event over Figueiredo Moreno 4, but they might do it. Irina Aldana knocks out Ketlen Vieira in the first round. I mean, you don't see those type of knockouts in women's MMA that much. It's a knockout. I mean, Aldana sits her down and knocks her out. And so they book her against Holly Holm, where they think, okay, Aldana can beat Holly Holm. We can have her big Mexican star here in the women's 135-pound weight class, and she can go fight Amanda Nunes. Nope, Holly Holm takes her down, outstrikes her, takes her down, rinse and repeat. Like, it's just Holm outstriking her, the ha, and then it's the takedowns, and it's all Holly Holm in that fight. And Holly Holm beat Ketlen Vieira in her last fight, too. That was ridiculous. Holm won that fight. She honestly should be fighting Amanda Nunes again. It's not going to happen. But I still think Holm's good. Aldana just wasn't on the right side of the scorecards in that fight. I mean, well, she didn't win, but it wasn't her night. It's okay. She comes back, she beats Yana Kunitskaya. And again, Kunitskaya was probably pregnant in that fight. But okay, Kunitskaya gets knocked out by Aldana. Aldana sits her down, finishes her on the ground with strikes. And that's what Irina Aldana has showed. She's got a lot of power, man. She's got power at 135 that a lot of women don't possess. And she might be able to land on Macy Chiasson. If there's ever going to be a knockout in this fight, it will come from Irina Aldana. Now, for Macy Chiasson, I think she's too slow for Aldana on the feet. I think Aldana's a way better boxer. She's got way crisper hands, and I think it's stylistically a tough fight for Chiasson, striking-wise. On the ground, I mean, if Macy Chiasson's going to win, she's going to have to try to take down Irina Aldana, because she's not going to be able to strike for strike with Aldana. If she does, she's either going to get knocked out, or she's going to lose a 30-27 decision, right? Chiasson's going to have to try to, mix it up with a takedown or something like that, because that's what she did against Norma Dumont. She was able to win the fight by taking down Dumont as a split decision victory. Chiasson didn't really do anything with her groundwork, but she was able just to control Norma Dumont enough and keep her on her back for an extended period of time, which made it seem like she did some in the fight, and she won the fight by decision, by split decision, right? She loses to Raquel Pennington. She gets sub air naked choke, or probably started by guillotine choke. She beats Marion Renault in a boring fight. She beats Shanna Young. Shanna Young isn't very good. And that's really been what we've seen out of Chiasson recently. She lost to Lena Landsberg back in 2019 in Denmark. Yeah, it was in Denmark, I think. Yeah, I think it was in Copenhagen, I think. Yeah. So if Chiasson's going to win, she's going to have to try to take down Aldana. I don't think on the feet I don't think it's a good stylistic matchup for Chiasson standing. I think on the ground, again, if she can take down Aldana and she can replicate kind of with what Holly Holm did Arena Aldana, okay, maybe she has some success, but this is Chiasson back at 135. I do like her better at 45, considering, hell, she just beat Norma Dumont, who was likely next in line for a title shot at that weight class. But again, I don't think Chiasson wins. I got Irina Aldana to win this one. I wouldn't be surprised if Aldana sits her down and knocks her out, but I'll go the safe pick. I say Aldana wins this one by decision. Again, she's just the better boxer. She'll keep the fight standing. Aldana, with the exception of the Holly Holm fight, she's got really solid takedown defense. She really does. She's got an 84, I think, percent takedown defense so far in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, 64, but still, that's inflated, or that's negatively affected by the Holly Holm fight. Chiasson, I don't think is going to be able to have that repeated success with the takedowns. I think Irina Aldana is able to, beat her head in on the feet. I'm going to take Irina Aldana to win this one by unanimous decision, using her striking to her advantage. Let's go. So pumped for this fight. Kevin Holland taking on D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. Let's go, dude. I mean, this is such a good fight, and I'm so glad they got this on this card, and it is such a Kevin Holland scenario. This is such a Kevin Holland fight. Takes this fight on 2 weeks' notice. Here you go. He'll go fight. He'll fight anybody, anywhere. Fights this one at a catch weight of 180. Of course, Holland's now at 70, and D-Rod is a fighter who has been fighting at 170 as well, but of course, don't want these guys to cut all the way down for this fight on 2 weeks' notice. We're going to fight at 180 instead. I mean, really, do rankings matter much in this fight? Maybe not. I mean, I would say so, kind of, because these are both welterweights, but really, this is just a fight. Let's get this on the card. Let's put on a great show for the fans, and it's going to be exciting. I mean, this is a W fight, man. I'm so pumped for this one. Because Daniel Rodriguez has been so good in the UFC so far. He had that one weird fight where he lost to Nick Dalby. It's a fight where you can make the case Rodriguez won, definitely, but he loses to Dalby. But other than that, he's been really good. He beats Kevin Lee, beats Preston Parsons, beats Mike Perry, beats Dwight Grant, beats Gabe Green, he beats Tim Means. All good wins for Daniel Rodriguez. Now, this fight, though, this is a fight that Kevin Holland can win. And it's a fight that if you look on fights that Kevin Holland should be able to win, it is literally Daniel Rodriguez. Because Daniel Rodriguez is a striker who is, he can strike well, doesn't have as fast as hands as Kevin Holland, has some power, but it reminds me kind of the Joaquin Buckley fight. Different weight class, of course, but hear me out here. Rodriguez is a guy who's a good striker. He doesn't really shoot for takedowns, so he won't really grapple with you much, but he's not knockout dependent as much as Joaquin Buckley is, but to the point where we're talking about punch speeds between him and Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland will have an obvious speed advantage in this fight. Kevin Holland will have the reach advantage in this fight. Holland's gonna have a 7-inch reach in this one. So he's gonna be able to strike a distance, and Kevin Holland's gonna be able to piece him up. And that's kind of what he did to Joaquin Buckley, because Kevin Holland had an obvious reach advantage in that fight. He was so much bigger than Joaquin Buckley in that one. I mean, I like to see Buckley go down to 170, but that was, even in that fight, Holland had a 7-inch reach advantage. He's gonna have an 8 in this one. No, he's gonna have my math is terrible. No, my math is terrible. Oh my goodness. He had a 6-inch reach advantage in the Buckley fight. He's gonna have a 9-inch reach advantage, I think, of the Daniel Rodriguez fight. Right? So Holland, as long as he's able to strike a distance, he's gonna be able to touch up Daniel Rodriguez. And I think Rodriguez is gonna have to close distance, he's gonna have to win with big power shots, but that's where Kevin Holland's able to counter, and that's where Kevin Holland's so good at. And again, the circumstances surrounding this fight. Okay, Rodriguez is not going to take down Kevin Holland. That has been what has killed Kevin Holland so far in the UFC. But again, I would like to make the case that maybe that's just, look who Kevin Holland fought in those two fights, right? I mean, he fought Marvin Vettori and Derek Brunson, the two best wrestlers in that weight class. And okay, he gets subbed by Kyle Dawkins in a fight where Headbuddy got knocked out for a split second, and Dawkins takes his back. Of course, that fight got overturned to a no contest, rightfully so. But Kevin Holland's wrestling isn't all that bad. He's able to catch Tim Means in a Darce in his last fight. I think Kevin Holland's a really good fighter. I think Kevin Holland, seriously, in a couple years, could be a top 5 fighter at 170 pounds. That's how good this guy is. I think he's able to go in there. I think he's able to touch up Daniel Rodriguez from the outside. I think he's going to finish him. I'm going to go second round knockout for Kevin Holland. I think Rodriguez is going to get hit so many times from the outside in this fight. I don't think Holland's going to have to take too many risks. I think he is able to keep his distance in this fight. And if there's no threat of the takedown, which there really isn't with Daniel Rodriguez, I know Rodriguez is capable of doing so, but in this one on short notice, I don't think he's going to want to try and wear himself out wrestling with Kevin Holland. And this is one thing also as well in this fight. I don't know if Daniel Rodriguez trains year-round like Kevin Holland does, because Kevin Holland has said he's usually always in the gym, he's always preparing for fights, because that's how, that 1 year in 2020 where he fought 5 times in 1 year, that's how he remained so active, because he was always active in the gym, he was training, he was always getting ready for a fight, even if he did not have one scheduled, okay? The same thing goes in this one. Kevin Holland probably was training for a fight. He won one against Wonderboy in November in Madison Square Garden. He didn't get that. Maybe he'll get that if he does beat Daniel Rodriguez, because Wonderboy just turned down the fight against Shavkat Rakhmonov. Good for him. I didn't want to see him lose to Rakhmonov, but he'll probably end up fighting Michel Pereira, but it's okay. Holland wants to remain active, and I don't know the circumstances, and I don't know how Daniel Rodriguez trains. I don't know if he trains year-round like Kevin Holland. I don't know if he remains active all the time in the gym like Kevin Holland is. But still, with all that into account, even if both these guys had full training camps, I'd still take Kevin Holland, and I'm still taking Kevin Holland on short notice because, again, I don't think Daniel Rodriguez is going to want, even if he thinks he's the better wrestler than Kevin Holland, he can think that. But does he want to get in that type of fight on short notice with only 2 weeks of training and get him that, tiring wrestling style fight that you can fight on the ground? I don't think he's going to be willing to do so. Kevin Holland's going to be able to win this fight. He's going to keep it at range, and he's going to knock out Daniel Rodriguez, and he's going to do it in the second round. So we're taking Kevin Holland to win by second round TKO. I'm pumped for the fight. It's the fight that I'm probably most excited for in the entire main card, the entire card as a whole. But Kevin Holland wins. My guy, the Trailblazer, Big Mouth, wins it by second round TKO. Oh, man. Okay. Tony Ferguson fighting Li Jingliang. Does anyone think Tony Ferguson's going to win this fight? Because I don't see it. And I hate talking about Tony Ferguson like that. But I honestly... How does Tony win this? He's up a weight class. He's fighting at 170. He is fighting sooner than Michael Chandler's fight. He just got knocked out 4 months ago. Brutal knockout. The most vicious front kick knockout I've ever seen. And I know Leon Edwards knocked out, Kamaru Usman with the big head kick knockout. But the Michael Chandler Tony Ferguson knockout was maybe the greatest front kick knockout I've ever seen. Maybe the greatest head kick knockout I've ever seen. It was brutal. It was vicious. Ferguson was out for 3 to 4 to 5 minutes. And he's fighting 4 months later. Oh no, up a weight class against a guy in Li Jingliang who hits very hard. This isn't good. This is not good. This should not be happening. And if Tony was going to fight, he should have fought Dan Hooker. He should have fought Dan Hooker because he 100% could have beat Dan Hooker. I want to see that fight. This is not good. Li Jingliang's going to knock him out in the first round. That's what's going to happen. I will explain to you why. But they literally, if Tony Ferguson was going to go up to 170 pounds, are there good fights for 170 pounds? Because I will break this all down right now for you right now, okay? So you got the top of the weight class. You got Usman, you got Edwards, you got Chimaev, you got Colby, you got Burns. None of those fights are good for Tony Ferguson. Bilal's not a good fight for Tony Ferguson. Jeff Neal's not a good fight. Luque, no. Wonderboy, no. Rakhmonov, no. Sean Brady, no. Masvidal, no. Magny, no. Chiasson, no. Jingliang, no. I wouldn't take him in a fight against Pereira. Would not take him against D-Rod. Would not take him against Kevin Holland. Ponzinibbio, maybe. Maybe Ponzinibbio. Maybe I'd take him against... No, but still, Ponzinibbio hits hard. Randy Brown, probably not. Salikov, probably not. Zaleski dos Santos, probably not. I would rather him fight Robbie Lawler. That's the fight they should have done. They should have done Robbie Lawler versus Tony Ferguson. But still, I take Robbie Lawler. I just don't like the fight. I don't like the fight 4 months after Tony Ferguson getting brutally knocked out by Michael Chandler, by the hardest hitting puncher at 155, which, again, says something. Michael Chandler is the hardest hitting puncher, hardest hitter at 155 pounds. But now he's taking a guy who hits very hard at 170 pounds. Jingliang's a horrible matchup for him. He knocked out Muslim Salikov 2 months ago. He knocked out Santiago Ponzinibbio a year ago. It was Ponzinibbio's first loss in forever. And he got knocked out by Li Jingliang. If you think Tony Ferguson can take down Li Jingliang and submit him because of the Khamzat Chimaev fight, it's not going to happen. That's just how good Khamzat is. Sure, will Tony have a little bit of success on the ground? Maybe. But is he able to take down Li Jingliang? Probably not. Is Li Jingliang going to take him down? Why would he? He doesn't want those elbows from the bottom. Michael Chandler did it because he got into some danger, because he got knocked down by Tony Ferguson, who, given, does still have power. But is Li Jingliang going to get knocked down by Tony Ferguson? I don't think so. Last time Li Jingliang was knocked down in the UFC was a David Zawada fight. That was a while ago. It was in 2018. It's not like Jing Liang's a guy who has a known bad chin. He's got a pretty good chin. He's able to eat a lot of damage. Tony Ferguson isn't that guy who can eat the damage. He is not the boogeyman that he once was, and it's sad to say, but again, Tony's not that guy anymore. So I think Tony's going to lose. Li Jingliang's going to knock him out in the first round, and I think it's going to be sad. It's not going to be fun to watch. The crowd's going to get excited that, oh, El Cucuy, he's back at 170. He's fighting new camp this time, right? Tony's, where is he now? Is he, isn't he training in New Mexico now? I could be mistaken, but I think he's in New Mexico now, right? He's at Winkeljohn, I think. That's great and all, but like, he's going to get knocked down in the first round. And I think Tony Ferguson, okay, I think the UFC will cut him here. I think they should. I think they'll let him go because I think Dana will say, I don't want to see you fight anymore after he gets knocked out again. And I think Tony Ferguson then goes to the Professional Fighters League. He should. This is where he should go because I'm going to give you a complete breakdown on what the Professional Fighters League next year will be at 155 pounds. Okay. It will be guys such as Marcin Held, Jeremy Stevens, Stevie Ray, Olivier Aubin-Mercier, Don Madge, Alexander Martinez, Hoosh Manfio, Anthony Pettis, Clay Collard. Those are the type of guys, Natan Schultz. Those will be the type of guys he'll be fighting next year if he goes to the PFL. They book him against Jeremy Stevens in the first fight night card, the first PFL card next year. Jeremy Stevens versus Tony Ferguson. Ferguson wins. They then book him against a slightly tougher opponent in PFL championship finalist Stevie Ray. Boom, he wins. Beats them both by decision, or beats them both by submission. Tony Ferguson goes in the playoffs. Boom. You book Anthony Pettis against Mickey Mouse opponents. You get Pettis back in the playoffs. Ferguson Pettis 2 in the PFL semifinals. Huge fight. And then Ferguson probably loses to Olivier Aubin-Mercier in the finals. That's fine though. But like still, Ferguson would have a chance to still beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier. Like you're telling me Ferguson couldn't beat Mercier at this point? I think he could. I still think he can beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier. And Mercier is their top guy at that weight class. Right? So if Ferguson goes to PFL, which he should, and I hope PFL throws him a bag like they did to Shane Burgos. Please get him over there. There are still fights that are fun. A, fun for him, and B, he can win over there. Because this is not fun. Seeing him get knocked out by Jing Liang in the first round in the UFC is not fun. Please go to the PFL and don't go to one championship because no UFC fighter does well in one championship if you're not named Demetrius Johnson. Okay? Please go to PFL, Tony Ferguson. You can win $1 million or have the chance to win $1 million because all you gotta do really is beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier and Marcin Held. Okay? So Ferguson's gonna lose this fight, but I hope the future is bright because I pray he gets offered a bag by PFL and he isn't like washed up over there. I hope he can still beat those low-level guys over in the Professional Fighters League. But in this one fight, Li Jingliang's gonna knock him out in the first round. And the fact that Nate Diaz and Tony Ferguson are literally on the same card in back-to-back fights in the same weight class and they're not fighting each other is ridiculous. That's the fight. Diaz-Ferguson. Have Khamzat wait for a title fight. Or have Khamzat, I don't know. I'm gonna fight Nick Diaz. No, don't. I don't know. He could have fought like Colby. Colby doesn't want this fight. I don't blame him. Why would he want this fight? He could have fought like, actually there's really no other fights, but still, like, man, the fact that Nate Diaz isn't fighting Tony Ferguson right now pisses me off because that's a fight Tony can actually win. Khamzat Chimaev is fighting Nate Diaz here. Okay. I will present to you how Nathaniel Nathan Diaz wins this fight. Okay. Nathan Diaz wins this fight by outlasting Khamzat Chimaev, dragging him into deep waters by just not getting finished early and getting the fight in the 4th and 5th rounds. Because that's where Khamzat Chimaev has not been yet. Okay, if anything was made apparent in Khamzat Chimaev's last fight, is that Khamzat Chimaev is not unbeatable. Khamzat can get beat. Gilbert Burns wobbled him, all right? Khamzat is not an unstoppable force, and that's why if Khamzat Chimaev fought Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, or Colby Covington, the top 3 guys in this weight class, I'd pick him to lose to all 3 of them, okay? Because Gilbert Burns almost finished him. Those guys can have success against him too. But Nate Diaz is not the guy that's going to have success early in a fight with Khamzat Chimaev. Now, late in the fight, that's where I think if Diaz is going to have a chance, and if Diaz is going to make this interesting like he did against Leon Rocky Edwards, who is now the champion of the world, he's going to have to, again, survive the early onslaught from Khamzat, not get subbed in the first round, not get knocked out in the first round, and he's going to have to hope Khamzat Chimaev gets tired. That is a big hope, that Khamzat wears himself out, and Nate Diaz is there to put him away and late in the fight because Nate's going to have to win. I mean, he's going to have to hope Khamzat tires in the 3rd, really, so he can win the last 3 rounds. That's how Nate Diaz is gonna have to win the fight. Again, the guy's a plus 750 underdog. Khamzat's minus 1200 now. I mean, the line's gone even crazier since what I last had on the odds right here on the screen. I mean, Khamzat's the better striker. Khamzat has more power. On the ground, I think Khamzat's way bigger than Nate Diaz. He's stronger than Nate Diaz. He's able to physically ground him. He's able to physically outwill him. It's just every sense of the imagination. I think Khamzat Chimaev has this fight. Again, the way I present to you Nate Diaz wins is that Khamzat gets tired and Nate is able to outlast him and Nate is able to put damage on him in the 4th and 5th rounds. But this is a Nate Diaz who is older. He's 37 years old. He had the fight against Leon Edwards, which he lost every single minute of until that last minute where he rocks Leon, okay? And then before that, he got beat by Masvidal. It's like, oh, okay, the fight was stopped in the 3rd. Oh, maybe he could have came back in the 4th and 5th. Probably not. Jorge was dominating him, so that probably wasn't going to happen. He beat Anthony Pettis, who now look at where Anthony Pettis is. Pettis is in the PFL, and he's 1-4 in the PFL. His only wins to Miles Price. Okay, he lost Stevie Ray twice. Okay. And before that, it's Nate Diaz fighting Conor McGregor. The guy's fought 3 times in the last 3 years. He's not an active fighter. He's not. And now he's fighting Khamzat. It's ridiculous. Khamzat Chimaev, I mean, do we even have to go over his fights? He comes in the UFC, he beats John Phillips, he beats Reese McKee, he beats Gerald Mearshart, he beats Li Jingliang, he beats Gilbert Burns. Again, what the Gilbert Burns fight showed, though, is that Khamzat's not unbeatable. But Nathan Diaz is not the level of striker that Gilbert Burns is. He's just not. Nate Diaz is not the type of fighter that Gilbert Burns is at this point. Sure, Diaz has got great jiu-jitsu. Is he able to submit Khamzat Chimaev off his back? Hell no, he's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to do that. Khamzat's that good. Khamzat's got that much pressure on the ground. All right? He took down Gilbert Burns for a little bit. Was Gilbert Burns able to throw up a submission and submit Khamzat off his back? No. And we talk how highly of a jiu-jitsu game Gilbert Burns has got. If Gilbert Burns and Nate Diaz grappled and they had a grappling match, Gilbert Burns would probably win. So let's say Nate Diaz is going to submit Khamzat Chimaev. It just feels like a step down for Khamzat. It is. It is truly a step down for Khamzat Chimaev because Gilbert Burns is in the elite level of this weight class. Nate Diaz is a 155-pounder who does not want to cut weight, who's fighting at 170 pounds, who is chasing a money fight. And you know why they're doing this, by the way. This is Nate Diaz's last fight in his contract. He is not coming back to the UFC after this. He is likely going to fight Jake Paul, I think. Or if not, the PFL will offer him a crap ton of money. Or if he doesn't do that, he just won't fight ever again. Because Nate Diaz is making bank for this fight, and he is done. He's made a lot of money off the Conor McGregor fights. Why? There's no need for Nate Diaz to fight anymore. If he wants to fight, there are fights for him. But I don't think he wants to do that after this. Or if he wants the money, he can take it and he can do it elsewhere. He can fight Jake Paul, he can fight in the PFL, he can do boxing, he could, maybe re-up with the UFC, which I doubt. But this is why the UFC made this fight. They are mad that Nate Diaz wants out. They are mad Nate Diaz will not re-sign. And that's why they are putting him against Khamzat Chimaev, is because they know Khamzat Chimaev will win. And that's why they made this pay-per-view card pretty bad, if we're being honest. Like, there are some fun fights. Kevin Holland, Daniel Rodriguez is a fun fight. Li Jingliang and Tony Ferguson's a fight that will get eyes on it. But other than this fight, other than those 2 fights, this card is really bad. It's for a pay-per-view card. For a fight night card, it's not horrible. Before a pay-per-view, it's not very good. You know why they're doing this, though? It's because they do not want Nate Diaz to sell. They don't want this to sell big pay-per-views. They want Khamzat to go in there, destroy him, and show, okay, Nate Diaz is not a money fight, and they want Khamzat to do away with him before Jake Paul does. So honestly, right? And I hope Anderson Silva beats Jake Paul, and I think he will. But if he doesn't, that's the next fight for Jake. Or, who else Nate Diaz could fight? It's a fight he could win. KSI. KSI's in the mainstream now. KSI's got that big deal with DAZN where they're doing fight nights basically based around him. Vitor Belfort's going to fight Hasim Rahman Jr. next in that DAZN fight series. I'm being honest with you. Nate Diaz, that's a money fight. He fights KSI. It's a fight he could actually win. I think he'd beat KSI. Hopefully. I don't know. I like JJ. I've always liked JJ. But for Nate Diaz's career and for the UFC's sake, I think he'd probably beat KSI, even though, I'll be honest with you, I'd probably cheer for KSI. But that's the point. I'm getting off guard here, but I'm getting off topic here. But again, that's what I'm presenting you what is potentially next for Nate Diaz. But this fight, again, it does not remain competitive. Khamzat Chimaev is probably able to take him down early, and I think he's going to submit him in the first round. Or if not, I think he'll knock him out, finish him with strikes. But I feel very good about Khamzat Chimaev in this one. I think he's able to, again, go in there, shoot for a takedown. He is going to smash him, brother. And I'm taking Khamzat Chimaev, again, to submit Nate Diaz. I don't think Diaz has ever been submitted. It's going to happen right now, right here, right now. Nathan Diaz gets subbed for the first time. Actually, no, he did get subbed a long time ago, I think, didn't he? WEC. He's going to get submitted for the first time since 2006. So for the first time in 16 years, Nathan Diaz gets submitted, and it's going to be by Khamzat Chimaev. Takedown. He's going to get his back, and he's going to submit him with a rear naked choke. smash everybody. Khamzat Chimaev wins this fight by first round submission. Night over. Give him the winner of Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. Let's get it done. So, folks, thank you for watching this UFC 279 preview and predictions. Make sure that subscribe button down below for some more UFC here on the channel. We'll be back next week from the damn Apex. Oh, my goodness. Song Yadong taking on Corey Sandhagen. So we'll be back for that in a week's time. Thank y'all for watching, folks. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. We should like if you did enjoy the video. Give us a for watching. And Mamba forever.